This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather. Ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome to the Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And normally I do a birthday boy on someone who is actively living and, talk about what's next for them. However, this guy is deceased. But anyway, he was born August 30th, and I didn't find anyone else. So he's my guy. So he played 19 years for the Mets and Phillies with the phrase "you gotta believe," which helped the 1973 Mets win the NL East, and was the hero for Philly in 1980 by making the final strikeout, giving the Phillies their first ever World Series title. Anyway, he's actually one of 6 Phillies players to die prematurely from a brain cancer, which could have, Fury says that it could link it to PFAS chemicals in the AstroTurf at Veterans Stadium. But anyway, his name was Tug McGraw. Tug was born August 30th, 1944 in Martinez, California, the second of 3 sons. He got the nickname Tugger because of the aggressive way he breastfed. The name stuck and McGraw preferred it. He wanted to be called Tug by his kindergarten teacher. However, his mother ended up being bipolar and was physically and verbally abusive, and abandoned the family after spending time in a mental hospital. So his father had to deal with the kids. He was athletic and a butcher, trucker, fireman, and a water treatment operator to encourage the children to play sports. Anyway, Frank Sr. moved his 3 sons to Vallejo and all that. Tug McGraw saw his brother Hank signed by the Mets, and Hank even wanted the Mets to scout Tug McGraw, threatening to quit if Tug was not signed. So in 1964, he signed as an amateur free agent with the Mets just before the draft started. Anyway, he was both a starter and a reliever. McGraw went to the Mets in spring training without even playing double or triple A ball at age 20. He made his debut as a reliever against the Giants, striking out Orlando Cepeda in his debut. He was even given a tranquilizer to calm down. So he was a reliever with a save when he made his first major league start July 28th against the Cubs, only lasting 2/3 of an inning. He did throw a complete game against St. Louis and even beat Sandy Koufax one time. And that was the first time the Mets ever beat Koufax. McGraw was 2-6 as a starter. The Mets would use him again as a starter in 1966, and he was 2-9 in that role. McGraw practically spent the minor leagues, subbed for the minor leagues, and was not used as a starter anymore, as Gil Hodges, the manager, figured that with his rotation of Tom Seaver, Jerry Koosman, and Gary Gentry, they didn't need McGraw as a starter. McGraw was a starter for a few games until Koosman came back from injury. So, anyway, they told McGraw that he should be a relief pitcher. He agreed with, and that changed his career. It helped the Mets take care of the Cubs in the NL East, and McGraw was having a great stretch and all of that. So anyway, Tug McGraw helped the Mets out in the bullpen, and they won the 1969 NL East. They would face the Atlanta Braves in the NLCS, and only played in one postseason game. That was Game 2 of the NLCS. He was not pitched in the World Series, which was strange and all that. Anyway, he was given a $10,000 bonus for being on the World Series team, and he used $7,000 of it to buy a white Mercedes-Benz convertible to give to his son after he died. Anyway, McGraw was a pretty good closer in the early 70s. He put up 27 saves that lasted. That was his single season mark, lasting until 1984. 1973 was when he became known for his leadership qualities. The Mets were close to falling off the map by August 31st. But the NL East was a gigantic mess, as almost every team could make it there. For the remainder of the season, McGraw in September went 3-0 with a .57 ERA and 10 saves. The Mets put up a 28 mark and won the division. McGraw would shout the words, "You gotta believe," which was a rallying cry for the Mets. Anyway, the Mets came to believe and did their job. In fact, it was the only time in the 70s that the NL East was not won by either Philly or Pittsburgh. Regardless of that, McGraw pitched 5 innings over 2 games in the NLCS against the Reds, shocking the Reds, and going to the World Series against the A's. He would pitch 5 games in that World Series. And in Game 2, he pitched 3 shutout innings to win Game 2. Yeah. Then the Mets shockingly traded him in December 1974 alongside Don Hahn and Dave Scheck for Dale Unser, John Stearns, and Max Scarce. Unser wasn't good for the Mets. John Stearns was decent for the Mets. Scarce not so much. Anyway, McGraw had shoulder trouble, and a lot of people said the Mets would unload damaged goods. After the trade, he was just diagnosed with a simple cyst and removed it and recovered completely. McGraw was the Mets' leader in saves, games pitched, and games finished at the time. So with the Phillies, he was a reliable relief pitcher. And he was there when the Reds, well, he helped the Phillies get to the NLCS in 3 straight years. So anyway, he couldn't get to the World Series with the Phillies at the time. And then there were rumors circulating that McGraw would be traded to Texas alongside Big McBride and Larry Christensen for Sparky Lyle and Johnny Grubb. But it was never executed because of some money issue with Sparky Lyle. So that would have been huge that the Phillies would trade McGraw for Lyle. They had a good reliever, and Johnny Grubb too. The trade actually worked out. The non-trade actually worked out, as McBride and Christensen would also be decent players for the 1980 Phillies. It was a tight match. Phillies and Expos in 1980 for the NL East. It actually went to the final weekend. Whoever won 2 out of 3 would win. Yeah, all that. McGraw would earn the saves in Game 1 of that series against Montreal, striking out 5 of the 6 batters. The following day, he entered the game in the 9th, pitching 3 innings and only giving up 1 hit. McGraw pitched a 1-2-3-11 inning, and the Phillies were the division champs. McGraw was 5th in Cy Young balloting and 16th in MVP. McGraw pitched every game of the NLCS and all that. He saved Game 4 to even the series to go to Game 5. Blew the save in Game 5, which would have helped the Phillies beat the Astros. However, fortunately, Phillies won an extra inning, so he was safe. He pitched in 4 World Series games in 1980. Of course, it was huge because he entered Game 6 of the World Series in the 8th inning with no outs, and the Phillies had 4-0. He allowed a runner to score and make it 4-1, but got out unscathed. He actually walked someone and got 2 singles. He had to do with Willie Wilson, and he whipped Willie Wilson, which helped the Phillies do it. And all that. And Philadelphia became the last of the original MLB franchises from 1901 to win a World Series title. Even the Browns, well, the Browns/Orioles, did so. Regardless, he would pitch 4 more seasons for the Phillies. Anyway, he would become more of a setup man for Ron Reed. The Phillies would acquire Al Holland to assume the closer role, meaning McGraw was just a setup man. He would decide to retire at age 40 in 1984. So he played 19 seasons in the MLB, 96 wins, 824 games. He was a starter for at least 39 of them and picked up 180 saves. Well, he was looking pretty good with stuff. He actually appeared in a 1999 episode of Everybody Loves Raymond when Raymond takes Robert to meet members of the 1969 Mets. So anyway, it was fun and all that. McGraw would have a very brief relationship with Betty D'Agostino, a waitress, but unfortunately it resulted in a son who ended up being great country music singer Tim McGraw. Anyway, well, Tug actually did not meet Tim till he was 11 years old. And Tim actually found his birth certificate in his mother's closet and inquired about his true father. Regardless of that, Tim persevered in sending his father letters. And in 1985, Betty filed suit, and the state of Louisiana demanded $350,000 in back child support. McGraw would finance Tim's college education, take a paternity test, and meet with his son. And they bonded and all of that. So, anyway, in addition to Tim, he has a son and a daughter with his first wife and a son with his wife Diane. Anyway, after one season with the Mets in baseball, he reported to the Marine Corps, recruiting on Parris Island. Trained as a rifleman on the M14 and M60 machine gun, he would report to Base Camp Lejeune, becoming a trained killer as he thinks. All that. Regardless of him, and he was a corporal. Regardless of that, things were huge. March 12, 2003. McGraw was working as a instructor for the Phillies, but was hospitalized with a brain tumor. After surgery was performed to remove it, some said that his procedure was successful and all of that. Unfortunately, the malignancy returned in inoperable form. So anyway, Tim McGraw would pay for costly experimental medicine and was involved in all decisions. However, Tug McGraw did attend the closing ceremonies at Veterans Stadium, recreating the final out of the Phillies World Series triumph. He passed away January 5th, 2004, surrounded by his son Tim and Tim's wife Faith Hill. The Mets would play the 2004 season with "You Gotta Believe" embroidered on their left shoulders in honor of Tug McGraw, and the Phillies wearing a patch on their right shoulder with a shamrock in honor of McGraw. Tim McGraw would have a hit song, "Live Like You Were Dying." It was recorded in his father's honor in the music video featuring the clip of McGraw recording the final out of the 1980 World Series. It was #1 on the Billboard charts for 7 weeks. McGraw was cremated, but nearly 5 years later, his son Tim would spread some of the ashes on the pitcher's mound at the Phillies' current ballpark, Citizens Bank Park, before Game 3 of the 2008 World Series. So anyway, people think that the brain cancer was to a toxic chemical in the AstroTurf of Veteran Stadium, which was noticeably terrible. It cannot be proven definitively. Anyway, he did establish the Doug McGraw Foundation to enhance the quality of life of children and adults with brain tumors and all that. So yeah, he made the world believe. He really did. And that's what happened. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.